Hello and good morning to you. This is Dr. Bill Bledsoe bringing you another glorious session of your prayers said aloud in the privacy of your own home, your concerns shared with God. I just begin the prayers, but you must finish them with your own heartfelt concerns. And it's a wonderful, wonderful method of praying and of building a relationship with God, one closer than I've ever been in my whole life. So we'll begin with my prayer. Beloved God, I thank you for this wonderful method of prayer of each of us healing our bodies, our minds, our spirits, and our souls. I thank the generations that have brought this to us, from the house of Abraham, the house of David, from Jesus, his mother Mary, Father Joseph, and Virginia Ellen, who finally wrote the book, Sacred Heart Yoga. Amen. Now, if you'll repeat after me, we'll say the Sacred Heart Yoga morning prayer. Beloved God, I devote this practice this day to the evolution of my soul, to the fulfillment of my destiny, in service to your love, O God. And I give thanks for these. And I allow myself to be purified as I rejoice in your kingdom of heaven and your love, O God. And I give thanks for these blessings, these moments that I can share with my body, my mind, my spirit, and my soul. In oneness with your love, O God. And so it is. Amen. Om. Now, we're going to try to clear our minds of our fears, our distractions, because they prevent our ability to love. You can't be terrified of somebody and still be loving them with all your heart. So here we begin by, it's called clearing our energy fields. We put our right hand up to the 12 o'clock position. Let it go over to the 3 o'clock position, our right knee, left knee, 9 o'clock position, and then back up to the 12 o'clock position. As we do this motion, repeat after me. God, I clear my energy field of anyone or anything standing within. I bless them and I send them into your love, your light, O God. Om. Now, the rest of the prayers you'll finish, add anything to it when I'll try to give you time. And the first one is we ask God, how may we serve you? And the answer comes to me in no more than one or two words or a heartfelt feeling, or sometimes every now and then it'll be nothing at all. And I don't worry about it. I just incorporate whatever it is in the rest of my prayers. And I always know what I'm supposed to know by the end. So here we take our right hand over our hearts, and I always begin with our prayers begin with, and that means you repeat what I say and then finish it with your own words or your own concerns. And here our prayers begin with, God, how may I serve you this day? Om. Now we're going to stand up and announce out loud what came to us. We stand straight and tall with our arms at our sides, our palms forward. And here our prayers begin with, God, my intention to serve you this day is to Om. Now we're going to sing the word Amen aloud 3 times, any tune you want, any pitch that you want that's right for you. That's the way saying the word Amen aloud 3 times is how an agreement was made, how an oath was sealed in Aramaic, in Jesus' tongue. So here we're going to sing it aloud, our oath to God. We'll seal it by singing the word Amen 3 times aloud. Amen. 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 Now we're going to sit back down on the mats, lay down on our backs. We'll get into what's called resting position, which is our arms at our sides, our legs outstretched. Here we pull our right knee up to our chest, holding it there with our arms and our legs. Our left arm goes straight above our head, stretched out, down to the mat. And here our prayers begin with, God, my true Father, I love you, and I thank you for Om. Now we take our right foot in our left hand, pull it over to our left thigh. Let our right knee fall down to the mat. Our right arm gets stretched out straight above our heads down to the mat. And here our prayers begin with, God, my true Father, I love you, and I thank you for Om. Now we switch hands. We take our right foot in our right hand, hold it down near our pelvis, and our left arm gets stretched out straight above our heads again down to the mat. And here our prayers begin with, God, my true Father, I love you, and I thank you for Om. Now we point our right foot up towards the heavens. And our prayers begin with, God, my true Father, I love you, and I thank you for Om. Now we let our right foot fall out to the right side of our bodies down to the mat. Our arms, well, we open our pelvis as wide as we can, extending our leg out to the right side. Our arms fall straight out from our shoulders down to the mat, palms up, and our prayers begin with, God, my true Father, I love you, and I thank you for Om. Now we turn our heads to the right, and we take our right foot pointed up towards the heavens over to the left side of our bodies, keeping our shoulders down flat on the mat and heads to the right. And here our prayers begin with, God, my true Father, I love you and I thank you for all. Now we go back to resting position. And this time we pull our left knee up to our chest, holding it there with our arms and our hands. And our right arm goes straight up above our heads, down to the mat. And here our prayers begin with, God, my true mother, I love you and I thank you for all. Now we take our left foot in our right hand over to our right thigh. Our left arm gets stretched out straight above our heads this time, down to the mat. And here our prayers begin with, God, my true mother, I love you and I thank you for all. Now we take our left foot in our left hand, holding it down near our pelvis. And our right arm gets extended straight above our heads this time, out down to the mat. And here our prayers begin with, God, my true mother, I love you and I thank you for all. Now we take our left foot pointed up towards the heavens, and we keep our right hand still above our heads down to the mat. And here our prayers begin with, God, my true mother, I love you and I thank you for all. Now we let our left leg fall out to the left side of our bodies, opening our pelvis as wide as we can, our leg extended. Our arms fall straight out to the sides from our shoulders down to the mat, palms up. And here our prayers begin with, God, my true mother, I love you and I thank you for. Now we turn our heads to the left, keeping our shoulders down flat on the mat. We take our left foot, point it up towards the heavens, take it over to the right side of our bodies, down to the mat. Heads left, shoulders flat on the mat. And here our prayers begin with, God, my true mother, I love you and I thank you for. Now we go back to resting position. And this time, for a second time, we're going to try to just get rid of our fears. Here we call it surrendering them to into God's love. And that's, well, it's just important. Otherwise, we cannot love. So we do this, we take our hands under our sit bones, lean forward on our elbows, and try to touch the tops of our heads back down to the mat. And our prayers begin with, God, into your love, I surrender. Om. Now we go back to resting position and we reach for the heavens with our left hand. Let it fall over to the right side of our bodies. And we're stretching our left shoulder, left back. We take our right hand halfway between our left shoulder and left elbow, stretch it over farther, and here our prayers begin with, God, through your love, I choose to. Om. Now we take our right hand and reach for the heavens. Let it fall over to the left side of our bodies, stretching our right shoulder and back. And we take our left hand halfway between our right shoulder, right elbow. Stretch our backs over farther, and here our prayers begin with, God, through your love, I can. Om. Now we go back to resting position. Arms at our sides, legs outstretched, and we pull both feet up to our pelvis. Soles of our feet kind of on the mat, and then we let our knees roll out to the outside, putting the soles of our feet together. And this forms a triangle below our bodies. It's called a tabernacle, a house of God. We form a second tabernacle by putting our hands over our hearts in prayer position, reaching them up towards the heavens, 2/3 of the way. And in this house of God, this tabernacle above our hearts, we find God's beautiful chalice, brimming over with any gift we could ever desire, want, or need to use in service to God's love. And if we ever use them for our own gratification or our own wealth, we'll end up losing them. God gives us all we need. We don't need to try to use his gifts for anything other than service to his love. So here our prayers begin with, God, I drink from your chalice, your gifts to me of. Om. Now we keep our hands in prayer position, take them right to the tops of our heads down to the mat, but our elbows fall out to the outside down to the mat. This forms a tabernacle, a house of God over our entire bodies. So here our prayers begin with, God, I thank you for healing my mind, my body, my spirit, and my soul. Om. Now we're going to start what's called the anointing series. We keep our hands in prayer position the whole while during 4 prayers, and then we repeat them a second time. The prayers are just acknowledging the gifts, these wonderful gifts that God gives us, and then thanking God for the incredible gifts. So we keep our hands in prayer position, take our thumbs up to our heads, and here our prayers begin with, God, I anoint your gifts to me of. Om. Now we take our thumbs down to our lips and our prayers begin with, God, I bless, and I will only use them in service to your love, your gifts to me of. Om. Now we take our hands down over our hearts and our prayers begin with, God, I truly thank you for your gifts to me of. Om. Now, the fourth prayer, we do a motion with our hands. We point our fingers down into our abdomens, extend our arms straight out to right above our pelvis, like the arms of a clock out to the 3 o'clock position. Move them counterclockwise up towards the heavens at 12 o'clock position, and then down to the mat at the 9 o'clock position. As we do this motion, our prayers begin with, God, I fill my mind, my body, my spirit, and my soul with your gifts to me of. Om. Now we take our thumbs back to our foreheads and begin the second in the series. Here our prayers begin with, God, I anoint. Om. Now we take our thumbs down to our lips and our prayers begin with, God, I bless, and I will only use them in service to your love, your gifts to me of. Om. Now our hands go down over our hearts in prayer position, and here our prayers begin with, God, I truly thank you for your gifts to me of. Om. we take and point our fingers down into our abdomens, extend them out to the 3 o'clock and 12 o'clock and then 9 o'clock positions, and our prayers begin with, God, I fill my mind, my body, my spirit, and my soul with your gifts to me of Om. Now we go back to resting position. This time we cross our right ankle over our left ankle, our right wrist over our left wrist, over our hearts. And here our prayers begin with, God, I truly thank you for always protecting me and keeping me safe. Om. Now we roll over on our sides, pushing ourselves back up into sitting position, using our arms and our hands. Here we extend our right leg straight out in front of us. Our left foot goes over our right knee. We hold our left knee with our right arm. Our left arm goes behind our backs for support. And we twist our heads, our shoulders, and our backs to the left. And here our prayers begin with, God, through your love, I desire to Om. Now we switch legs. Left leg goes straight out in front of us. Our right foot goes across our left knee. We hold our right knee with our left arm. Our right arm goes behind our backs for support. And here we turn our heads and shoulders and backs to the right. And here our prayers begin with, God, through your love, I will Om. Now we get up on our knees. Put our hands in prayer position over our hearts. And here our prayers begin with, God, I truly thank you for Om. Now we form a tabernacle by putting the tips of our thumbs together and the tips of our first fingers together. And we put this down on the mat. Here we lean over in child's pose and put our foreheads into this tabernacle formed by our hands. And when we do this, we just take a moment to feel God's love all around us, surrounding us throughout the whole world. God's presence, God's love healing every cell in our bodies. Om. Now we get back into sitting position and we extend our right leg straight out to the right side. Our left foot comes up to the inside of our right thigh. And here our prayers begin with, God, through your love, I will become Om. Now we switch legs. Left leg goes out to the left side. Right foot comes up to the inside of the left thigh. And here our prayers begin with, God, through your love, I am. Om. Now we go back to sitting position. And we put our hands on our knees, our thumbs touching our middle two fingers, kind of like forming two little tabernacles with our hands. We take our backs and sit up straight and tall, and then we bow forward at our pelvis, keeping our back straight. And here our prayers begin with, I bow to you, God, for healing my mind, my body, my spirit, and my soul. Om. Now we sit back up straight and tall a second time, bowing forward at our pelvis, holding our back straight. And here our prayers begin with, I bow to your love, O God, my true Father, my true Mother, the One, the Oneness. Om. Now we're going to sit up straight and tall. And we're going to feel where we're grounded down to the mat, the left side and right side of our pelvis. And on the left side of our pelvis, we feel God's wonderful white light of love, of nurturing us, of healing us. God's white light entering our bodies, filling our legs all the way to the tips of our toes, filling our abdomens, every cell and every organ in our abdomens, coming up God's white light of love, filling our hearts with God's true love, coming up into our lungs, and with every breath we can inhale, we can breathe in God's love. And it fills our arms to the tips of our fingers, it fills our throats and our minds completely with the caressing love of God. Then it goes out like a giant beacon out the tops of our heads, expanding out wide in all directions, and it surrounds, goes out and expands out around the whole earth. God's white light rains down upon every living creature, God's love. Now we feel on the right side of our body, our right side of our pelvis, God's blue light of truth, of wisdom, of knowing, of discernment. God's blue light of truth fills our legs all the way to the tips of our toes, every cell in our legs, and then it comes up and God's blue light fills every cell in our abdomens with truth, with knowing. God's blue light comes up through our hearts, making our hearts certain of God's love and God's truth. God's blue light comes up into our lungs, and with every breath we inhale the Spirit's truth, God's truth. Blue light goes into our arms, all the way out to the tips of our fingers, up into our throats and into our minds, caressing, healing, filling our minds with certainty, with truth, with love. The blue light goes out the tops of our heads like this blasting giant wide beacon, spreading out light, and light fans out around the whole earth. And God's blue light of truth rains down upon every living creature. Now we can step up into the light above our heads, stay as long as we want, ask anything we want. But the one thing we should always ask before leaving is, God, what do I need to know this day?